Hey friends, welcome back. This week I had Patricia Dooley on the show, and I'm so excited to share our conversation with you. Patricia has traveled the world, first in the military and then later with family. She's lived abroad for many years and truly understands the struggles and joys that come with big life transitions. Patricia has been married for almost 30 years, raised two sons, and mentored countless women through her life with Bible Study Fellowship. On the show, we dive into the importance of community and fellowship in every season of your life, how communication is essential for building relationships, and how community looks different for men and women. It's a great conversation full of laughter and shared learning, and I cannot wait to hear your thoughts on what we discuss. Be sure and leave a comment so we can keep the conversation going. Thanks to Patricia for taking time to come on the show. I hope it encourages you and gives you some practical tips on building community in your life. Be sure to follow the show so you never miss an update. Now, grab a cozy drink, turn up the volume, and enjoy.
That was incredible. Netherlands is a beautiful country. It's green all year round. The low is usually the lowest temperature is 32, normal. The high is normally 74 for the high year round. Oh my gosh. Now there is like a month in August that it gets up into the 80s, and they don't have air conditioning because you don't need it. So it gets a little hot, but August is also the month that everybody goes on vacation. So,
oh, well, okay. That works.
yeah,
It doesn't matter.
they all go elsewhere. And so, nothing's going to get done for the month of August.
Nice.
But that's why they all leave, because it's the hottest month of the year, pretty much. I mean, there are, again, fluctuations, but
Right.
and biking everywhere, and their infrastructure for transportation is incredible. I mean, you don't have to have a car. It's just
Like at all? You could just not have
not
one
at all.
around
You
everywhere?
never need a car. You never need a car. I mean, because there's buses and trams and trains, and they will get you from basically almost from door to door of where you need to go.
That's such a wild concept.
But here's the difference, and this is what I like to point out to people. Yes, and they're basically socialist, but their taxes are 50% for the rich and 30% for the rest. So it's a bit different than what we have. So if you think that way, but also it can, and I'll give you this other little story because I find it fascinating, but I probably can't share it either. But they're half the size of Indiana.
Okay.
And 2/3 the population of Indiana.
Okay.
So it's not a big country.
No,
and so
it's
when you
not.
put it in that perspective, 2 hours will get you anywhere. And that's why they have trains and buses, and you can even bike. I mean, it's so flat. It's absolutely flat.
So most of the time I've spent in Europe, I've been to Scotland several times, but up in the Highlands.
Yeah.
I've been to Bavaria, so down by the mountains.
Oh, I love Bavaria.
I
love Bavaria.
Bavaria so much.
I would move there.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
One of these days I'll take Ben, but we haven't made it that far yet. But all the places pretty much I've been in Europe are mountainous. So I was in Switzerland, mountainous, Austria, mountainous. So everywhere I've been is mountainous, but also it's Europe. So you're like, oh, I can just pop over to this other country. Like, in like 30 minutes, we're in another country. And it always makes me chuckle because I've known a number of people from both like the UK and France and Germany. And they're all like, what do you mean you're driving another state away like 3 hours? That's crazy. And I'm like, it's
you're packing for a week, aren't you? Make sure you pack for a week.
Right.
Yeah. No, the Dutch are the same way. If it's more than half an hour, you're spending the weekend.
I know.
Like, we drive 8 hours for a weekend. I'm like,
we have to. I mean, I drive half an hour for work.
Yeah, no, I don't think they would do that. Most of them.
I don't think it's even a concept of like a possibility in most Europeans' minds to go that far for something like work or even like grocery stores. Everything is in town essentially.
Yep. Yeah.
And there's just not. There are some places I think in the States that kind of have that feel and that vibe, but not in the European way.
No, because I've been looking for that. That's where I want to live in the U.S. and I can't find that. Like my brother and his wife just retired from Switzerland. And so they just literally yesterday bought a townhouse in Sarasota because they could walk to everything and the weather's nice. And so, but that was the closest they could find, And so I'm like, oh, okay.
And it's so different because there's so much more like spread outness, I feel like, in the
Yeah.
States,
Yeah.
which is partially because we have copious amounts of land, so we can spread out.
Yes.
And partially, I think, because it's such an like autonomous culture,
Yeah. It
like a
is.
can do family unit, we can travel and move. And it's
Yeah.
very normal for you to move across the country multiple times. That's not an abnormal
Mm.
thing. Whereas I think in
Big-
a lot of Europe, it's far more like historical and cultural based and like has that kind of legacy feel to it.
Yeah.
But just
Most
not a
people
ton
don't
of
leave their
towns here have.
countries. I mean, they do. People do leave their countries, but most of them really don't. The average people we had talked to don't leave. There are exceptions, obviously, because you hear
It's
about a
like
lot of
Ohio.
or Indiana. Yeah, it
I was
is.
told nobody ever actually leaves Ohio. So since we moved from Ohio, we'll have to go back eventually because no one actually ever
Oh
leaves
yeah,
Ohio.
you're right. You're right. You're vacationing for a while. That's all.
Yeah. it's our
Actually,
it's our
Ohio's a beautiful
vacation
state.
stint.
Yeah, it's a beautiful state though. Ohio has everything. So
It really does, which is
yeah,
wild because who thinks about Ohio?
yeah. No, no. There's bad jokes about it online. So
Like, I certainly hadn't thought about Ohio. And then
yeah,
God was like, here, the job, it's in Ohio. Go to Ohio. And I was like, okay, going to
yeah,
Ohio. And
yeah,
it's worked out so far.
yeah. No, yeah. That's where like we were in Cincinnati, which is similar to Indianapolis, but it's got the river which controls everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's much more condensed, which
Yeah.
is why we were glad to get back to Indianapolis because even with the way we have the river, we're just spread out.
Yeah.
We're just there's nothing stopping us from continuing to grow. So
So, what would
yeah.
you say in all of the traveling you've done, both before kids and then with kids, what would you say is like the one thing that nobody tells people about traveling that they 100% should tell people about traveling?
Ooh, be nice. No, seriously. I mean, don't be a tourist. I mean, we're going to be tourists, but you don't have to be a mean tourist. You don't have to be. The rules are different over there. I mean, their times are different. If they say 2 o'clock, depending on the culture, Spain, 2 o'clock is not 2 o'clock. The Netherlands or the Swiss, if it's 2 o'clock, it's 2
2 o'clock.
o'clock. So yeah. So I would just know, study a little bit before you go, and be prepared for strangeness. It's just enjoy it. This is what I always tell my son. And he just got back from Greece on a college trip. And I always told him, even when they were little, we were walking one night in Leiden. And I said, look up at the sky, look at the moon, because the clouds were going to cross the moon. I said, where are we? And he goes, the Netherlands. I said, exactly. It just changes your whole demeanor. Remember that you're somewhere special and enjoy it.
I
So,
think it's part of the consumeristic culture that we live in to not relish things. Like it's always, okay, I'm going to consume this and then it's going to be on to the next thing, on to the next whatever it is, the next trip or the next
yep,
travel or the next
yep,
movie or the next show or the next whatever.
yeah,
And that was one thing Ben and I loved when we were on our honeymoon is there was no rushing meals. Cause it's like, we have nowhere to be. Like, we're not trying to get through this meal. Like,
yeah,
we can take 2 hours for this meal. It's not a problem. We can just sit and like chat and enjoy. So we've really tried to continue that since then,
yeah.
especially with like dinner, because we typically almost always eat dinner together. Like we
Oh,
don't have
good.
kids yet, but as a family.
Yeah, yeah,
And we're just like, we can sit here and chat and we'll eat and we'll chat. And it's so nice. It's so refreshing to just be able to like slow down a little bit
yeah, yeah.
and not get
I agree.
so caught up in the next thing, which I mean, I'm totally guilty of, have totally done it. I probably do it every day, but
Yeah,
the
yeah.
goal.
Well, but Europe doesn't do that. Europe does relax. Their dinners are 2 hours. It might be 7 o'clock at night or whatever, because Americans tend to. We used to eat earlier. Cody and I have always eaten earlier because it's easier to get into restaurants.
Fair.
But they do take the time to talk and have a coffee. I mean, it's the meal is more than the food. It's the relationship with the people at the table.
Which is such a great thing.
Yeah,
Like, I
yeah,
love that. There are definitely certain things that I think America has really done well at. I think
Yeah.
that hurry, hustle, bustle, like never take a moment to pause is not one of those things that I would say, this is where we're winning, guys. I'd be like, we could take a moment.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
World will keep
No,
on spinning.
you hope. Yeah. No, like here I'm drinking a coffee here. You're having tea, I know. But they in the Netherlands, you always know the American because they're carrying a coffee cup with them. The Dutch do not carry coffee. If you're going to have a coffee, you're sitting down, they give you a little cookie with it. You're sitting down and enjoying that for 5 minutes. And then you'll go on and do your business. You don't, I mean, and now they're getting used to it. The bigger cities are doing it more, but you don't run with the coffee. You don't eat your breakfast in the car.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy that change. I won't say it's a slowness because it's not really slowness, but it's
Yeah.
an attitude. I enjoy that attitude.
So did you guys have kids before the Netherlands or during the Netherlands?
Before, we left for the Netherlands in 2012. My youngest son, now you're going to get me in trouble. My youngest son was 9, and my older one would have been 11 and a half, 12 at that time when we left. So we
Okay.
left during their formative years, as you might say.
They
And
were old
that
enough
has,
though to like kind of know the pattern of life here and then see the pattern of life there. Was that a struggle with them trying to acclimate and adjust?
yes, yeah, it was. It was bad. Um, Justin, my younger one, does not remember a lot of he was 9. He doesn't remember a lot of things about America. I mean, he remembers family, but he can't say, oh yeah, we did this in America, or we didn't do that. He doesn't
That's okay.
really,
I don't
he didn't.
remember anything from that age either. So
So, but Keegan very much does. Remember that. He's about 3 years older. And so, yeah, they both had a hard time. They didn't want to leave. So, I mean, and we talked to them about it and everything. But we made them both a promise. One of them, we promised they could have their cat when we got there. We would buy them a cat. And the other one wanted to go to Paris. So we promised we would
priorities.
take them to Paris. And one of the ladies, a secretary at my husband's office, every month before we got there, because you have to, it takes like 9 months before you can get over there, would send us a postcard every month with a different picture of the Netherlands on it and saying, we can't wait to see you. And it was to the boys. We can't wait to see
Oh,
you. This is what we're doing here. This is such and such. And I don't know if they remember that or if it helped, but I just thought that was so neat.
was the transition then coming back to the States equally difficult or was that an easier transition?
No, equally difficult. And there's something that they do. It is, you have usually 6 months to a year going in both directions. There's a transition your mind does, and they actually go over it. And there's a name for it, and I can't recall it right now. But it's peaks and valleys. And they know, like at the 3 month mark, you'll be down here. At the 4.5 month mark, you'll be up here because you get highs and lows from the excitement of being in the
Right.
Netherlands or any foreign country. If you've been in several, you'll for any amount of time, you'll know. And then all of a sudden, like, I can't get the bread I want. I can't do this. I can't
Yeah.
call, and so there's a low. And then it finally, after about 6 months to a year, it balances out and it becomes normal. Well, it's worse coming back because you have expectations,
Mm,
but things aren't the same. Things don't freeze while you're gone, and they're older. So we're all older when we come back, and it's equally hard coming back, and you'll have the peaks and valleys coming back here too, even though you know where the groceries are, even though you know how to do all
right.
this stuff. It's fitting in again. That's hard because you won't. And we moved into a rural area, and so most of the kids that they got to know never have even left the city, much less the state.
Yeah.
So it was very hard for them because they couldn't. And I warned them about this. I said, you can't tell them, oh, we went here, we went there, we went to Paris, we went to China, we went, because they're going to think it's bragging or,
Yeah.
and so I felt so bad about that, but they've done really well. They're called third culture kids. I don't know if you've ever heard that term, but
I
it's
hadn't.
because they don't belong either place. When they grow up in so many different places, you don't really fit in anywhere because you're multicultural.
Right.
And so, yeah.
I think that's something a lot of people don't think about. I
Mhm.
mean, I know I've struggled to think about it, but the idea of I was in this place or this job or this city or whatever it was for this amount of time. And then I moved somewhere else. I transitioned somewhere else. And I want to go back to that
Yeah.
place I was. And in your head, you think, oh, I'll just go back, right? It's the same
Yeah.
people, it's the same stores, it's the same everything.
Right.
But it's not going to be the same. It's not going to be bad, but it's not going to be the same. Like, you're going to have to rebuild
Yeah.
like connections with people, and you're going to have to like relearn a pattern of life. And like, it's definitely, I think, something people should like consciously think about, but nobody talks about.
No, and it's not brought up. The only reason I even realized this is an actual thing was because I attended a seminar at the boys' school, and it talked about just coming to a new country. And this was one of the things. And I again, I wish I could remember what it's called, because there really is a name. And I do send out, I have a little pamphlet that I send out to people when they're going overseas to prepare them, because you just don't expect it. And coming back is just as bad. And the one thing I wish I'd done is remembered, like when I told you, I told my boy to look up at the sky and just go, where are we? I didn't do that when we came back. And it was much harder because I lost that excitement when we
Yeah.
came back. And so
I
that was
think
a
people
regret of
feel
mine.
like things should be these big adventures,
Yeah.
and it should be this whole grand, Hollywood, Instagram. It's
Yeah.
always fun, and I'm always in cool places, and I've always got great pictures. And the reality is that's a very small portion of anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
is kind of the glamorized version that you see. And even you think about most movies, it's like, oh, like, yeah, they went through the hard thing and it shaped their character. But like, that's not the part of the movie you remember. It's not like,
No.
that's like a 3-minute long music montage in the movie. Whereas in life, you're like, this is months or years or decades of like being in whatever season it is.
Right.
And I think that's something that a lot of people just
No.
aren't told.
No, we're not. It's not something that's discussed. People, I think, people who do travel like this all the time, where they're spending a lot of
Yeah.
time in other countries, and I don't mean like hip hopping or bebopping around. I mean like spending 2 years, 3 years, 4 years in a
Right.
country and then moving. They just get so used to it. I think they don't even acknowledge it anymore, and
Yeah.
so they don't share it with the new people coming in. And it's hard. It really is. And I wish more talked about it. It's kind of not that you're at this point yet, but it'd be like perimenopause for all of us. It's now being talked about, but it hadn't been talked about for
Yeah.
generations. So,
Well, even a little bit this year. I mean, because this year has been crazy for Ben and I, because in January, February, and half of March, we were in Ohio. And then we moved to South Carolina. And we were in South Carolina from essentially March to October. And then in October, we moved to Florida.
no.
And so it's been multiple major moves in a year. And yes, my family's in South Carolina. I love them, but it's not like I don't have well established like friendships and stuff there. Like most people I knew growing up, high school, everything, like they've all gone different places and what have you. So
Right.
it was kind of like starting from ground zero. And my parents were there and a couple of my siblings were there. So we got to enjoy the community of that. But also, you do hit a point where you go, hey, I'm looking for, church family and friends and social activities. And then you move again to Florida where we don't have any family. And it's just like, okay, we're starting at zero again to like try and build and try and establish. And it's a lot.
Yeah. No, that is jumping like that, because you're almost like, why should I bother?
Well, no, we had that question because we
Yeah.
kind of knew we weren't going to stay in South Carolina long term. Like we knew it wasn't really where either of us wanted to like settle down, and weren't going to buy a house or anything there. And so there were times and it was like, we could be here for another month. We could be here for another 6 months. Like, do we try and get involved in this and do like, do we try and go through the process of joining a church so we can serve on their worship team or their kids ministry when we might be moving before we even get through that process?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then you're like, okay, well, now it's been 3 months and we've been saying that, so we could have done it now. And so you're just in this weird limbo stage, which is,
Exactly.
it's hard. There's definitely like good things and development that's come out of it. But I think international travel is, if you're going to be international for a while, it's kind of that same thing where you
It
go,
is. Yeah.
I'm kind of starting at square one, and nobody talks about that kind of like activation energy you have to get
Yeah.
through to then have those stable, like, yeah, I have dinner with my friends once a week and we do these activities with church. And it's like that takes development.
Yeah. Well, and most of them speak a different language. I mean, so and then they're different cultures. So it's not only you're not just going to another state, you're going
Yeah.
to a whole different world,
It's
and
entirely
you're just
foreign.
not prepared. And most of the people who live in the countries, like the Dutch for me, um, they don't want to bother to make friends with you. They know you're going to leave. No, seriously, their friends have been with them for 20 years. Why do they need a friend for two,
Yeah.
a foreign friend for two?
Yeah. How do
So,
you think people deal with that? What do you think are, I mean, having done that multiple times now, how do you almost prep for that or cope with that when you realize that's where you are?
well, thankfully, my sister-in-law, the married to my brother who was in the Switzerland, um, she gave me the American Women's Club. I don't know if you've ever heard of them,
I
but
haven't.
they're pretty much all over the world. But there's groups in like each city, each big city. And so it's a way of connecting. And then there's the International Women's Club, and there's different clubs. And so you can you can go there and you can start making friends, or finding a church, which was a little harder than we expected it to be, but because there aren't as many as you would
Right.
expect. Um, and it's not like the US. You can't, there's not one on every corner.
Yeah.
But yeah, so there are ways to connect. And usually it's with other foreigners. It's not usually unless you take like classes or do specific things that that's where, for lack of a better word, the natives are going to be, like where all the Dutch are going to be, then doing Dutch things.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
So
there's groups.
is that when BSF came into the picture? Was that connection seeking? Or was
No,
that at a different time period?
no, that's a whole different time period. Okay. So in 2018, we came back.
Okay.
And so both of my kids were, one was in high school, one started college at that time.
Okay.
And I was kind of bored at home. I know I didn't want to do much because I always liked getting the house settled to make it a home for the boys, no matter how old they are. I still do that. Um, but I wanted to get the house settled for them. And then I started looking for part-time jobs. And long story short, I got a job at the YMCA, which also happened to have a men's BSF class, Bible Study Fellowship class, on the nights I worked. So all these men coming in 3-piece suits, carrying a Bible and notebooks, were coming in, signing in, because they're not members, so you have to sign in and check
Right.
them and stuff like that. And one night I finally go, "What do you guys do?" And one of the gentlemen just sat down and started talking to me. I'm like, "Oh, that is so cool. I didn't know that." I mean, like 30 years ago I tried to join, but it was only in person. Well, even in 2018, it was pretty much only in person. But 30 years ago, it was, you had to do your work. If you couldn't do your work, you weren't allowed to go into the class. And if you missed more than 3 times, you weren't allowed to come anymore. So it was very strict.
Right.
But now, there was more freedom in 2018. And I'm like, yeah. And they had a women's group also at the YMCA. I'm like, maybe I'll try that. And so that's how that started.
Okay. So that was more post kids when you were like, now I need something to do
Yeah.
because the kids are gone.
Yeah, it was God calling me, is what it really was. It was God going, "Hey, you need to spend more time with me. And you say you want more meat, so I'm going to give you a group that goes in a little deeper. I hope you're ready."
We're never ready.
No.
Newsflash.
So
We
says you.
always
I'm
think
always
we
ready.
are, and then we're not.
Yeah. No.
So with the raising kids, what was the difference between the Netherlands and then anywhere else in Europe versus what that looked like here? Because I know, like, I have friends who live abroad currently.
Yeah.
And I see kind of the highlight reel of their life on Instagram with them traveling everywhere with their
Oh, yeah.
kids
Yep.
and
Yep. Yep. Yep.
all of that. And then I have friends here in the States who, their kids are in daycare every week, or they got to be at school and all of these things. So what was that like for you guys between
Well,
those different areas?
one of the agreements we've always had, is that I would not work. That was something, even before we got married, it was a discussion that I would not work unless I wanted to, like part-time
Right.
jobs or whatever, which I did do. Or I worked at the school they worked at or whatever, but I was always home when they were home. That was what I always wanted to do. And thankfully my husband agreed. It was, so it worked out
Probably wouldn't have
well.
worked out if he hadn't.
No, no, no. But the hardest thing for my children going overseas was protecting them as Christians. Because I don't know if you noticed this in the countries you went to, but in the Netherlands, it's not that they don't believe in God. They don't care. They don't care
Yeah.
what your beliefs are. And so it, unlike here, where if someone, you can argue with someone, for God or against God. But in the Netherlands, you try to discuss with them like, I don't care, and so it stops.
It doesn't affect me mentality. You can believe what you
Right.
want. And
Right. And it's like you're fighting air, or you're trying to discuss with air. And so it was much harder to show the kids a good Christian life when there was this just, I don't even know how to describe it. It's just nothingness.
yeah.
So there was no, it was hard. That for me was the hardest. And then coming back here, it was nicer because obviously we have churches on every corner and
A little easier
most
to
of the
find
teachers,
one.
yeah. And a lot of the teachers are Christian, even though they're not allowed to say or something, depending on where you go, of course. Um, but that to me probably was the biggest thing going back and forth because they both claimed and they both professed faith before we left. But one of them has decided he's not so sure anymore. And it's really hard. And I know it's because of the time over there
Yeah.
that influenced it. But then again, they also have to grow up and stand on their own and
Yeah.
can't be on our parents. Be they can't base their faith on me or on my faith. And so, and I'm pretty sure that's what this is. I don't know that it is, but I'm trusting God that is what it is, that it's just, he's learning to stand on his own, just like my other son is standing on their own faith.
I remember when I went to college, there was a moment, it wasn't really a moment. It was like my first year of college. We say a moment, but so growing up, I was homeschooled through all of my like education up through high school. And like we did sports and we did speech and debate and we did all of these things, but they were always very closely integrated to our church. And that was just the people I was with were the same people I saw at church and were the same people I saw, at youth group or whatever it was. And so I remember when I went to college, it was the first time where I could choose, do I want to go to church or not? Am I going to be involved in this or not? Because growing up, that was what we did. Like Sundays, you went to church and like my family always served in some capacity at whatever church we were at. And so it was the first time I really was like, I could just not.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing saying I have to. It's entirely up to me. Like I could just take Sunday as basically a second Saturday and okay. And I remember it was such a wake up call, probably like second semester of college. I'd made some friends and they were all sweet. But I remember at one point, one of them who was a professing atheist, he said, "Hey, Georgia, you say you believe this stuff, but like, you don't really do anything with it." And I was like, oof, he right. Like, I'm really not doing anything because I didn't have to. And so I really had to sit down and decide, like, if I'm going to say this is where I stand, I have to walk in that. Yeah. And that was really when I had to make my faith my own, because up to that point, it's not that I wasn't saved, but it was almost a family faith in the sense of I wasn't responsible for the upkeep of it and the like motivation and the drive behind it. And there was a distinct shift because I went, oh, this is mine now. Like, I'm not doing this because it's what my family does or what my friends do or what my parents do. Like, I'm doing this because this is what I believe and this is where I stand. And I distinctly remember that conversation because I was so convicted and I was like, I don't want to say like I shouldn't be having this conversation, like, but it's rough when your atheist friend looks at you and goes, what the heck, bruh?
Yeah. Yeah, no, exactly. Well, and that's what makes college so great and so scary at the same time. It's great because you do learn to walk on your own, but it's scary as a parent because the walk may not be the one the parent wants.
Yeah.
Because not everybody does get that convicting moment. Or if they do, they're like, yeah, okay, whatever. You
Yeah.
know, they don't focus on it and think about what it really means. So, but yeah, but college is a great place to learn how to be yourself, an independent person.
Which was funny because my older brother is only 13 months older than I am.
Mhm.
So essentially we were raised as twins.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And then, I mean, we were so close. My mom was like, Psh, y'all can be in the same grade. It's fine. It's easier that way. Like, it's really not that big of a deal. And so then I went to college, and it was the first time that it wasn't me and my brother.
Oh,
It was just
yeah.
me. And I was like, well, I'm real shy, and I always hide behind him. And now I can't hide behind him and have to do things myself. And I was like, I don't like this. So I had to bolster myself a little bit that first year.
Well, good. Well, obviously, you've done a great job. You now do a talk podcast, a video podcast. So,
Thank you. We enjoy it. It's fun. So then, were the boys in school? So you were home when they were home. Does that mean
yes.
you were homeschooling, or was that just, what does that
I
mean?
Okay. I was just always home. I don't know
Right.
how to describe it. I mean, I didn't homeschool them mostly because of the older one, because he and I were so close just because of my husband's job. He both being in the military, he was sent to Bosnia, so he was gone for a while. Um, and then when we came back, and after he got out of the military, he was a state trooper, so he was gone a while.
Mm.
And so my older son, Keegan, and I got really close. And he was a mama's boy. I mean, even at the age of 4, I knew he was a mama's boy. So I could not homeschool him because I think it would have been really bad for him. He needed to meet other people. He needed to listen to other people. He didn't need his mother all the time. But I would have loved to have homeschooled him. But I knew as a mother that was for him not the
Yeah.
best thing. The other one, yes, except my other one was always an honor student and always in the accelerated classes. There's no way I could have homeschooled him. I mean, yes, I know they have the books and everything, but
It's different. No.
yeah.
My mother's a saint. There's no doubt. We love her. Mixer of everything. It's who she is.
Yeah, no, more power to her. I wasn't organized enough.
So what was it like kind of as a family dynamic of you being at home and not working? Because it's one of those other things that I see all the time. And I see, and it's probably because of my algorithm. I fully admit it's probably because of my Instagram algorithm that I see this all the time. But I regularly see things about, homesteading and stay at home this and,
Wow.
da 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 da. And it's all this like glamorized, like it's so peaceful and calm and happy and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, I feel like that's Instagram. So what's it really like? I mean, what was it
Okay.
like for you guys to really live with that as opposed to just the idea of that?
Yeah, well, in the beginning, we didn't really have all this stuff. So it was much easier in the beginning. I mean, when I was in college, even in the military, we didn't have cell phones yet. So getting a picture of when we raised our kids. But now, I mean, sure, when the kids were napping, it was great. Or when they started school, it was great. But first of all, I had 2 boys, which I absolutely love. And I absolutely loved raising boys because I was raised as a tomboy. I have 2 older brothers and a younger brother. I have a youngest sister. But I was basically raised as a boy. I wore their clothes. I climbed trees. I did everything they did. But so raising boys was a great time for me. I loved it. And so their being rambunctious and their being all these things didn't bother me, even at home. But you had to be prepared for that. You have to be prepared for boys at home. And they were good kids. And that's why I've enjoyed, even up till about 21, I thoroughly enjoyed them. But yeah, no, there's dishes to do. There's laundry to do. I was ready to throw my kids at my husband as soon as he walked in the door. And you do hear these stories. You see jokes about it online. It's
Right.
not a joke. We are exhausted we are spending all our days talking to children about children things,
Yes.
and we are done. And when they're young, you're changing diapers and they're crying, and there's not a lot you can do. It's exhausting, but it is also incredibly rewarding. So and you have to remember that you have to step back every once in a while and go, yes, this is it. And find outlets if you can. Join a group, a mom's group or whatever. MOPS, I think. I don't know if they still exist. But I took my son to, let's see, my younger one went to preschool, and that's where I started meeting moms there. And another mom had a daughter born the exact same day as my son.
Oh,
And we actually found out we lived in the same neighborhood. And so, we built a relationship with that and the birthdays. And so that was, you just find ways to share a community. Whether you're in Europe, whether you're raising kids, you need a community for whatever you do.
right.
Being isolated is really hard for anyone. So, but
How
yeah,
did you guys navigate that on the marriage front? Because obviously, right, like your husband's working and then he comes home and he's tired, but also you're tired because you've essentially been working all day. It's just a different kind of work.
yeah.
Were there like communication issues there in the beginning or not
In the
so much?
beginning, I think there's always communication issues. 30 years later, mind you, we'll be celebrating our 30th anniversary in July. So it's not
Congratulations.
like, yeah, thank you. So it's not like we haven't made it through all this, but there's always issues. There's never a moment, oh, at 7 years, we're going to have the perfect marriage and it's all going to be done. I don't have to work at it anymore. Not true. At 30 years, you still have to work at your marriage. So yeah, there were communication issues, but okay, I also have an angel of a man. He 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 would come home, he would do the dishes, he would do the laundry, he would do the vacuuming. And so which would give me rest. He would play with the kids. They'd rough and tumble on the floor. He didn't mind that. And he just I can't even describe it because I can't imagine it if he hadn't done that.
Right.
And he was just he was really great about that. And we learned to do something that was called couch time. And it's where when he first comes home, because you also have to prioritize husband over children. And so when he would come home after he got out of his dirty clothes and stuff, we would sit on the couch together for 10 minutes and talk to each other. And the kids weren't allowed to interrupt. So they had to go find something to do, no matter the age. And that really helped because you talked about the things of the day. You had so many minutes for each thing.
Right.
You talked about the things of the day, goals for the week, goals for the month, goals for the year, and future. So you're spending, and you may not get to all of it or whatever, but it was 10 minutes and you tried to end it at 10 minutes no matter what, because then you don't feel like tomorrow, oh, we're going to do it for 15 or 20 minutes. Now it's going to be 30 minutes. You've got kids, you can't. But that was probably one of the things that really helped, is just making sure the focus was my spouse. So, and he would do anything for me. So even now, if I asked him for something right now, he would do it. And by the grace of God, I have a wonderful husband, and that has really incredibly helped our marriage because I'm a very independent woman. So it's hard.
That's okay. I've struggled with learning to let other people do things their way.
Yeah.
Because some of it's just my personality. Some of it's that I'm an engineer. And so in my brain, I'm always like,
No.
what's the most efficient way to do it? What's the fastest way to do it? Like if I have 3 steps, what's the best order to do these steps in?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Ben and I definitely have had to learn that it's okay, and more so for me than for him, to let other people do things their way, because it's really not that critical. It
No.
really doesn't matter if that's not exactly how I would have done it, or if we might have saved 30 seconds if we'd done it. It's really fine. We're not perfect, but we're working on that. It's fine letting it be.
That's exactly it. It's delegating. If you delegate, let them do it their way. It'll get done. It'll be the solution you want. Just maybe 20 minutes longer or in a different location, but yeah, that's a hard step. And in marriage, that's what, give and take. So It's incredible. To build that communication, to build that relationship. And you can't stop. That's my you can't stop building it.
I feel like it's never going to be one of those things that we're like, okay, we've got it sorted now, because I know Ben better than anybody else in the world. But
Mhm.
there are still times when I'm like, what? Like, he'll do something or say something, and I'm like, you've never said that before. Like, you've never done that before. And he's like, I do it all the time. And I'm like, no, you
Not at
haven't done it
home.
all the time for the last 3 years.
Yeah. No,
It's so
and well,
fun though.
and you two are still learning each other. I mean, because the newlywed phase is like 3 years ish, you
Perfect.
know. Yeah. So you guys, you know, but it's the 10 years and 11 years, I think, where people feel like they're in a rut. But that's because they think they're done. They think they're done working on it to have an exciting marriage. And you're not. If you want an exciting marriage, you have to make it exciting. So you
We'll
can't
go
just
skydiving
go
on our 10th year anniversary to make sure we're not in a rut. That'll
go
probably
ahead.
work.
You go. But yeah, no, it's true. It's true. I mean, and exciting just means talking to each other, even,
Yeah.
sharing things and listening. Okay, let me do that. Listening is important.
How does that piece fit in with, you having the kids and you intentionally making time for each other and still having all the responsibilities, but also wanting community outside of that? Because I feel
Um,
like sometimes everyone's like, well, like your spouse should be like sufficient community.
oh.
And I'm not sure that's accurate.
Yeah, I don't think, not for women. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't think men need to have as many friends as women do.
Women are too chatty.
We are chatty, and we like a lot of things. I mean, we like to have, I mean, not every woman. Okay. So I'm generalizing here because I don't want, hey, I'm not like that. So something's wrong. Nothing's wrong if you're not like this. But for me, I like doing all kinds of different things. And talking to different people and just going around. And so, yeah, Cody having that one-on-one is fine when the kids were little. But as I got older, or as the kids got older, and in school, that's where the part-time jobs would come in, or the volunteer jobs, or the church things would come in, because that would fill my women need of communicating and chatting, and like leading a Bible study or leading what we would call a D group, discipleship group at our old church. Just getting involved, and because then you also make friends,
Yeah.
which is the other side of it, right? And so you're able to share and talk, and you can say things as a woman that your husband's not going to be happy that you said. I mean, in a way, and I don't mean like talking behind your husband's back or anything like that. It's things you'd say to your husband, just not in the way you would say them, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
And so
Sometimes
it fits in. I mean, and
I get very worried that I have a lot of emotions and I'm just going to dump all of my emotions on him because he's who I talk to the most. And I'm like, you don't regurgitate and like veg on emotions as much as I do. Like I tell him the emotions once and he's like, okay, that's the emotion. And I'm over here like, can we talk about this 6 more times before I'm ready to be
yeah,
done with
yep,
this
yep,
emotion? And I feel like that's one of the reasons that like female community is needed.
yes. Yeah. No, I agree. Absolutely. Because like my girlfriends will either commiserate with me, go, yeah, just keep, and then, hey, that happened to me, or hey, this, like, and then we all get to commiserate, or they were like, you are full of it,
We
which
need
my
both.
husband would never say to me. Yeah. And so, yeah, no, we need women. It helps for women to have outside sources, because dumping on our husbands, they don't know what to do with our emotions. They're not as emotional as we are.
No.
They're like, okay, here it is. Thanks.
When they compartmentalize in a way that is completely and utterly foreign
Yeah.
to how females work. So for them, it's if it's not what's directly in front of them, it's not even on their mind. Whereas for women, it's all always on the mind. At least for me, it
Yes.
is. I think for most
Yeah.
women, it is.
Yeah. Well, and that's why there's also jokes about women bringing something up from 10 years ago. You did this because we don't let go. We don't
Right.
forget. And men, it's in this little compartment over here and it's done. So, you pulling that out 10 years later, it's like, I already shut that door.
Yeah.
Why no, and that's something women need to understand about men too, is that we are like that and they are not. And I mean, I know there's books and there's talks and everything about that, but it's so true. They just one and done. They're just,
Well, and
yeah,
sometimes you need that sanity check because I think it's easy to take a man just shutting the door on a topic because he's not in that box anymore as like he's not interested or he's
yeah,
annoyed or, any one of these negative
yeah,
connotations. It's probably not true. He's just not thinking about it. And you need that to be able to sit with other women and be like this how and they're like, no, dude, that's totally normal. That's just a dude.
yeah. Exactly, exactly. That's the other thing I like about women's groups is you realize how similar or not similar your husband is, because and it's just like I don't know what I mean. I think I have a great husband, and so then I talk to other women and their husbands are the same. I'm like, wow, really? I thought he was really rare, and he is rare. I mean, but it's just like there are other good men out there because you think like I've got the last good one, and it's nice to hear that there's other good men out there, but they do stumble, and that's okay too, or they don't, like they're done with something and you're not, but that's not because they're mad at you. It's not
Yeah.
because they don't want to talk about it. It's because it doesn't sink into them. Whereas, and the other women go, yeah, my husband said the same thing, or yeah, it's because of this, and you're like, oh, okay. So yeah,
I think
we
to an
definitely need other
extent,
women.
women can very easily stumble into dwelling on things too much.
Yes.
And you get so caught up on it that you just sit there and spin in it. And
Yeah.
that often, I know it certainly has for us in the past where it's not even like an argument. Like we'll just have a conversation that lets
Yep.
both of us feeling like, that conversation could have gone better. And he's past it. He's done with it. And in my brain, I'm like, I'm still going over it and thinking about it. And then I'll bring it up again. Well, then he's irritated because I brought it up again. And it's like, I should have just dropped that. It
Yeah.
really wasn't that big of a deal.
Yeah. Well, but you already had 5 conversations in your brain of what you should have said and how he should have reacted. I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
And he never thought a second about it after you guys were done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a very regular occurrence that I have to ask. Like I'll say something to him or I will ask if I said something to him because I'm like, did I actually say that thought or was it just in my head? I'm really not sure. He's like, no, you told me that. And I'm like, great. And sometimes
Okay,
he's like,
good.
no, you've never mentioned that. And I'm like, okay, so that was one in my head. I should tell you this.
Isn't that funny? That really does happen. And so, yeah.
And I don't
Yeah.
think that happens with him at all. Like I don't think he just has conversations with himself in his head. I think that's a woman thing. But I love it. He's great.
Yeah.
He's wonderful. I think community in all aspects of life is critical.
It is. It is. And it is for the man too, even though we're downplaying it. It is also for the man because they need mentors. And especially the good men. Like Cody needs I would love to see Cody when we settle down in our church here to be a mentor to others, because it's very hard to find good role models. It's very hard to have someone come beside you anymore. And especially, it's always been that way for the men. The men's groups are harder to get going. Men's groups, except for maybe camping or hunting or camp, sports kind of things. It's hard to get men together. And especially because they don't talk like we do, so getting them, oh, you guys should all go on a camp out together, oh, they're going to have great things to say. What'd you do? Oh, fished. No, what'd you talk about? Nothing.
Yes.
Like, what? So yeah,
I remember
but they need it.
the small group we were in at the church we were in Columbus. It was so funny because we had one large group chat with everybody in group. And that was, kind of the big group chat. And then at some point the girls were like, hey, we should make a girls group chat. So we made a girls group chat and then we would plan girls events and like we would all get together and we would like go get tea or make cookies or get together and make candles or whatever. We're girls. It's what we do. And
Yeah.
every single time we had a girls get together, all of the guys in the group would be like, well, what are we supposed to do? And I was like, plan to get together? Like at one point, one of the girls in the group made a group with all the guys in it and herself and then ejected herself from the group so they didn't have an excuse to not have a
Oh,
group,
that's
because once they
funny.
get together, they talk and they do things, and
Yes, yes,
it's
yes,
not that same drive to be like, we should plan all of this.
yes.
It just doesn't click the same way, and it always makes us laugh. And then as the group, grew and progressed and people started getting married, you always knew when something was happening because if the girls were getting together, it meant all our husbands were like, well, can we all get together too? And if we're all getting together, should we all just get together at the same place? And we're like, we love you. It defeats the point of a girls group if we all get
Yeah.
together. So no, y'all
Yeah.
have to go do something else.
That's funny. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me. Yeah, if my husband ever makes plans with someone, he always says, you have to talk to my wife. I'm like, you can say yes or no.
If I say I have to check with my husband, it probably means no, and I didn't want to
Yes,
tell you.
yes, exactly, exactly.
What would you say are the biggest takeaways you've kind of learned over the years for starting community and building community and maintaining community?
Okay, I'm really good at starting. I'm not so good at maintaining. And my personality wise, I like to start a project, learn it, create it and get it going, and then pass it off when it's stable. I'm not the kind of person that can do routine. I don't like the same thing every day. I can't do that. It's not in my brain. So the biggest takeaway is find the right people for the right positions. Like starting a group, starting I don't know, just a mom's group or a women's group. If you know there are certain people you want in it, ask them. Or like at my old church, I started a crochet group. So I was able to throw it, and it didn't matter if it was men or women. I didn't care; it was all women. But I threw it out there.
Go figure.
But and then you start it, and then you decide what direction it's going to take, and you build from there. It was in the church, so there was a community already. It wasn't like, but I didn't care if it was who it was. But you build it up. You got to work at it, and you need the person in charge, which at the time would be me, is to follow through on things, is to check up, to basically be a shepherd. I mean, if you're really, I mean, this goes for any group. You need someone, especially if you're the kind of group I'm thinking of, like a group that cares for each other.
Yeah.
Whether so, you need someone who's willing to do that. And then as the group grows, you find two or three other people who like to do that. And so, and it's just like your group. When you said it kept getting larger, you probably split into two groups, even.
Yeah, it was definitely to that point where we all kind of went, we are about to the point where we need, and it was kind of that natural almost transition, because part of the group was still kind of young adult singles, part of the group
Yeah,
was newly married, and then the married half of the group was moving into the kind of the having kids phase. And so it was almost a natural kind of transition of who was in the group, and not because anyone was like, you're kicked out now, be gone.
right, right.
It just, there's different stages of life, and so it's a different I mean, when you have a 2-month-old, it's a different dynamic than when it's a bunch of singles.
It is. It is. And yeah, and that's exactly what you look for, as you're shepherding, as you're trying to start the group, or even as you're trying to continue it, because you have to forward think too in groups. It's not like, oh, I'm going to do this and this is it. Well, just like a marriage, right? Oh, I'm going to get married. This is it. No, you've got to forward think. You've got to plan ahead. And I don't mean plan ahead as in necessarily like I'm going to be a billionaire by the age of 40.
I mean, we'd take it, but
Yeah, I know. I'll be glad to win the lottery. I'm okay with that. But it's just, you need to know what direction. You need to know and this is where you talk to the other people. Again, this could be a husband, this could be your women's group. You need to know what the other people think, what their desires are, what their direction is. And so you can either, and that's where you also decide how to design the group in a larger group. because if these women want to do this kind of thing and these women want to do this, well, okay, then it's two different groups. And in a marriage, if you find out, oh, my husband does, or this man I'm going to marry doesn't want kids, and I know I'm going to, then you need to think twice about
Yeah.
the relationship there. And so you would go to another group basically, or, find another person. And so it's the same thing. You've got to be aware, and you've got to forward think, and in love. I mean, this isn't, and people
Yeah.
can change their minds. Like, to be honest, I wasn't, when I married my husband when I was 28. And I will tell you, I didn't want to have kids. So, mind you, I have
We see
two.
how that
And
turned out.
yes. So, but yeah, it was, and once I got married, I'm like, yes, I want kids. I want a kid with him, but I think it was because I wasn't dating the right men that I
Yeah.
didn't want kids. And so, yeah. But yeah, and so anyway, going back to what you're saying, sorry, I like to ramble. I squirrel a lot.
Totally fine.
But just starting the groups and maintaining them is hard and takes a lot of energy. So you have to be that kind of person that can do that. And starting a group is what I love. Like I said, I love starting new things. I love doing new things. But the maintaining and continuing, once it becomes normal, once it becomes standard, I don't know what the right word is. It just keeps going flat, so to speak. You're on a smooth road.
Yeah.
That's where I find it hard. And so that's where you have to find people who can interest you or can shake it up for you and say, hey, this isn't, let's do this, or let's change it up. Let's do something different. And like in BSF, I've been a leader in BSF, and a couple times I've stepped back from being a leader. One time was because I led an online group, and it was just after COVID. So they wanted us all to go back in person. And I'm like, well, none of these women are going to go back in person. I knew that. And so I was 55, and I was the youngest person in my group. So, so I knew none of these people were going to be doing this. And a lot of them were in their 70s and 80s. And I didn't want them driving at night to go to an in-person group that was probably an hour away, because, they're spaced far apart, a lot of the groups. And so I'm like, okay, ladies, I'm going to step back from our group. We were given a choice of either going in person or going international, which is now what is called BSF International. And so I said, I'm going to go international, and I will tell you, ladies, what it is about. I said, I will take a year and I will go learn how to be an international BSF person. And it was a little weird and a little scary because it was all new at the time. And so, but that, again, like I said, I like learning. And I didn't want to make these women who are 70 and 80 years old step out and try to figure out how to get on Zoom, or what Zoom was, or to start WhatsApp, which most of them did not have, and so it was me trying to figure, getting all that out. And then that, after I spent that year, the next leader asked me to be a leader again. And so in BSF International, I said, well, I'd be glad to. I do love leading. I do love being a leader. I love teaching. I love mentoring. I love shepherding, which is why I like starting things, and I like getting groups together and all that. So it's all part of the same energy for me. And that's when I met Julie, my current leader. And I had a really hard group this past year. And I said, I think I need to step back for a little while. And she was the one, she and Nikki, my other leader, said, hey, we have a proposition for you that's a little bit different, but still the same as being a leader. And I'm like, I'm intrigued. And they found a way for me to still be a leader and still do what I love, but in a different way. And that's what I needed. And sorry, I'm off topic again.
Well, it's all tying in. That's where the community comes in, of having those people around you who are like, we can speak into what's going on because we know you and we're a part of your life, and we know what your passions are and where your interests lie and how God has gifted you, but also we see things that you might not. We know things you might not, and then it all comes together.
That's exactly it. That's exactly how it all happened. And I am incredibly happy. And the changes that we've made so that I can be able to still be a leader, I've been blessed is the best way I can say it. And it's because people listened. We all listened to what God was saying. And then that's, I think, hard sometimes because we forget about God. Even in all these communities we were talking about, even in the husband and wife marriage, we didn't really mention God at all in any of this conversation. For me, God is throughout all of it. God was at the beginning of my marriage. God is in it now. Even the community groups, I pray over it. There's, everything. If there's issues, I pray about them first. It's all God led. And for me, and this is the hardest part for me, I don't talk about God a lot because he's so there.
Right.
That I to me, it's just assumed. It's in my brain, and he's just a part of it. But most people I talk to don't think that way, and so I have to learn to give God credit verbally, and not just in my brain. But yeah, if it hadn't been for him, none of this would have been here. I mean, the whole reason I even met my husband was because I had student loans. The whole reason I had student loans is because I went to college. The whole reason I went to college is because my mom pushed me. And
it's those little steps that you look back on and you go, oh, okay, I see what he was doing there.
Yeah.
Like I didn't at the time, but now looking back, I see, how these things connected to get us where we are now. And it's one of the reasons I like to prayer journal, and I like to actually write things out, because then I'll go back through with a highlighter and I'll read back through and I'll start highlighting everywhere I prayed for something that God has answered in whatever way he's answered it. I'm like, yep.
Yeah. Yes.
Like I can go back through the years and see like what I was praying for that. I mean, right? Like I prayed for a husband for years and years and years and years. And now I'm like, I could not have asked for a better man to marry.
Yeah.
Like I'm just like, wow. Like every time I think about it, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. Look what God did. And it's so great.
Yeah. Well, I will tell you, I never would have thought of marrying the man I did.
Same.
And I'm just like, and I'm so thankful I did. I mean, I'm so thankful God put him in my way, and because I never thought I would have married a man like my husband, and I'm just so thankful. And God did it, God molded me to get me to the point.
God was like, you're not ready yet.
Yeah, that's exactly what he said.
Yes. Thanks so much for listening, friends. I hope you enjoyed the latest conversation as much as I did. A huge thanks to Patricia for taking time to chat and share some of her story with us. And a giant thank you goes out to you for tuning in each and every week to meet someone new and hear how they see the world. Be sure and follow the show on Spotify and YouTube so you never miss an episode, and share it with your family and friends so they can be encouraged as well. I can't wait to see what the next conversation brings. As always, until next week, let's talk about it.